All righty. Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Richmond, and I am the coordinator of student activities. I am also the election commission advisor. We also have another commissioner online. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself? John?
Hi guys, my name is John, and I'm the vice chairperson for the election committee.
Thanks, John, for that. So I'll just tell you a little bit about how today will go. What we will do is you will have 20 minutes for everyone, all of the candidates, to go around and give their platform. You will state your name, the position that you're applying for, and then your 3 minutes will start with your platform bios. After that, the moderator, John, will ask 2 questions, and then we will allow you to raise your hands, and we will go in order of who has raised their hands. So for example, if he asks you a question about your candidacy, you can raise your hand. I will state who's going next, and then you will go around. You have the option of answering that question. It's not required. After that, we will allow anyone who is considered a guest to go ahead and ask their questions from the audience. All right, is everyone good with this? All righty. I ask that when you're coming in to go ahead and please mute yourself. I tried to have everyone else already muted, so as you're coming in, just mute your screen. All right, so we'll start off with the presidents. Daniel, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Of course. Thank you, Brittany. Hi, everyone. Hi, UB family. I hope you're all doing well during this time of adversity. My name is Daniel Hushkapazi, and as your SGA president, my 3 primary goals are to increase student input in school decision-making processes, cultivate a more active campus culture, and increase access to services students need. As an experienced student leader, student affairs professional, and a community development professional, I believe that through policy and advocacy, we can ensure that these improvements to our campus can be successfully made. To provide more necessary services to students, in my first 30 days as SGA president, my goals will be to ensure that our student government will create policies and program for the free year-round distribution of necessary feminine products and condoms on campus. This is a project that student governments and many other colleges have pursued, and I will make sure that we do too. If you'd like to learn more about my platform and what I want to do as SGA president, please visit my website at www.daniel4sgapresident.com. And I'm looking forward to today to having this conversation and seeing what everybody else has prepared for this year.
Thank you, Daniel, for that. We're going to have the next presidential candidate, Abraham.
Hello, my name is Abraham Rodriguez. I am the Vice President of History Club, and I am a student staff manager at the Robert L. Bogomolny Library. So I am running for SGA president, and what led me to take this decision was that as Vice President of History Club, I actually interacted a lot with the SGA, the current SGA, and I noticed how clubs were being treated. I noticed how the process was being made. I noticed the hurdles that they were tackling. And again, me and my team also went through some of these hurdles. And it led me to be like, hey, I would actually like to participate in this process. I would like to help clubs out, which I didn't another problem was that I saw that a lot of people were over ambitious. So I have only a simple 3 goals and simple 3 main goals. So I would like to repair the relationship with our organizations, because I see that our organizations are hard workers. I want to repair that relationship and make it easier for them to get access to funds, get access to co-sponsorship, make the process a little bit less as an uphill battle, more of a relationship type of deal. If we don't get involved on campus, then what's the point of having an SGA? Number 2, something that I'm really passionate about is the counseling center. I see that a lot of students have said throughout the past year that they want their counseling center back. A lot of things happened. The police academy came. Students wanted to be heard, and that was not a service that was offered for our students. And then number 3, I would actually like to involve more of our veterans. Our veterans community is a community that UB prides itself in having, And frankly, I do not see that much veterans involvement. Yes, I see the Vet Center working and doing activities. However, I would like to involve the veterans in more of our activities. So I created a Facebook page. It's in Abraham Rodriguez, and I have a campaign page there where I've been posting some stuff, and added updates. But that's about it. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Abraham. Next, we will have our treasurer, Hugh.
Hi guys, my name is Hugh Norco. Last year I was the Speaker of Senate for SGA, and in previous years at UB I was president of Philosophy Club, I was treasurer of History Club, and I was in a bunch of other random organizations and committees and stuff. But this year I decided I wanted to be treasurer. My decision to be treasurer came from 3 factors. One, they recently changed the treasurer position to have a lot more duties, which is being in charge of the student appropriations to the student orgs. 2, I was in the finance committee last year. And 3, I think that the treasurer should take a more active role in making sure that the money is being spent correctly. So because of those 3 reasons, I thought, I was uniquely qualified to take this position because I know SGA finances. I have a plan for how I want SGA to be spending those finances, and because I worked on the constitutional committee, which changed the treasurer's responsibilities, I thought since I have that knowledge of how it should operate, it would be good for me to establish the precedent for this year. As far as I can tell, the treasurer position doesn't really do too much policy making, at least in the previous SGA election or previous SGA years. I wanted to change that. I mean, I know that I shouldn't have the power to be making stuff unilaterally, but I do have a lot of information and a lot of data about how UB finances are being spent. And I think the treasurer should take a more active role in making sure that the student fees are being spent effectively and efficiently, and that they're not just sitting on an internal account all year. But that being said, I hope you recognize this, and I'm pretty sure next SGA is going to be one of the best in history. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Hugh. Next, we will have Chief of Staff, Amadou.
Hi, my name is Amadou. I am running for Chief of Staff. I was a former member of SGA. I've been in SGA for a minute, so I was a campus life chairman, and also I'm currently a Chief of Staff, and I'm rerunning as for this position. So there's 5 things that I'm trying to focus on. One of them is co-sponsor with clubs, improve online experience, social media, improve the social media engagement, focus on important initiative because there's like a lot of important initiative that we should push out. And the last thing, be the voice of the students. And also you can text my phone number up there if you have any questions, comment, and concern. And that's it.
Thank you, Amadou. The next candidate will be Mara Cruz.
Hi, everyone.
Can I interrupt for a
I'm
little
sorry.
bit, please?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I said, let me interrupt you a little bit, please. Hold on. Leonard, could you please save the munchies for later? It's kind of distracting.
I'm sorry.
I'll turn off my camera.
All right, cool, yeah. All right.
Sorry about that, Mara Cruz.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry about
that's
that, Mary
fine.
Cruz.
That's fine. So my name is Maricruz Abarca, and this is my second semester at the University of Baltimore. I previously went to Baltimore City Community College, where I was a student trustee, and I work very close with SGA president, vice president, and the entire body, as well as all the clubs. And that part gave me the experience to work with people from different backgrounds, and also the experience to know that student voices sometimes is not easy to be heard. So with that said, I just feel like SGA, it is the most important part of the school. So we are the basic of the whole campus. So I have seen you know, for the first semester, I attend to most of the meetings, and I just felt like this SGA needs something more. It was not that they weren't doing, it's just probably that the people who were, or who is working there needs to have more passion, something that I have. And I'm committed to the things, and I'm a person who does things from a professional point of view and who takes things seriously. So all that I can say is I'm committed to make the difference. I am also a responsible person who is willing to go beyond the steps and to do things that are for the well-being of all the students, not only the SGA body, but the whole body, the whole body as well. So I don't know if you have any questions. I haven't put my personal information there, but I will eventually add it today if it's possible. I know that everybody's going, you know, back and forth, but I just feel like this is an important part of the elections. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mary Cruz. Next, we will have the candidates for secretary. April.
Hi guys, my name is April King. I'm running for secretary. Last year, I was an undergraduate senator. I passed the gender neutral signage bill mandating that facilities put up signs to show where the gender neutral bathrooms are on campus. I'd like to do some more of that as secretary. I believe every student should be given a chance to thrive and succeed at UB. I've also been pushing legislation to give students all election days off, or at least give them an excused absence. I'll continue to push legislation that will benefit every student at UB. I don't want to be passive and just take notes, you know, record meetings. That's not how I want to run my position. That's really all I have to say.
Thank you very much for that, April. Do we have the other secretary candidate, Mayarni, here with us?
I didn't see him in the participants.
And the treasurer, not treasurer, I'm sorry about that, Vice President Kevin McHugh, are you with us on this line?
He's not here.
All right, so next we will have our senators. We will start with Emily.
Hi guys, good afternoon. I'm Emily Camp. I'm running for senator for the SGA. One of the main things that I've noticed since I started here as a freshman is that the participation with the student body and with the SGA and campus events, it's not going up. It's when I first started, like it was very low, and I just see it getting lower and lower and lower. So I would really, really like to see everybody start participating a lot more. I feel like we are a student body, but we're not a community. So that's my platform.
Thank you very much for that, Emily. Now we will have Randolph.
Hello, everyone. My name is Randolph Wells. I go by Randy. I'm in my first semester here at UB. I am currently the vice president of our young adult ministry at my church, Psalmist Baptist Church. I've been more of a background person in the political world. I helped run a couple of campaigns, state delegate campaigns. And just recently, before COVID-19 happened, I was helping with a council president for Baltimore City campaign. My platform is to have more of a voice for the, I don't want to say older working adults. I'm not that much older, but I'm more older than what people think I am. And you know, to have like, to be there more of a voice for the students and to talk, you know, be there to talk to the students and help move the SGA in a more progressive way. That's it.
Thank you, Randy. Next, we will have Ashlyn.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ashlyn Woods. I'm going into my senior year here at UB. I think this is my second year here. And honestly, I really have enjoyed my time here at UB. And this would be, well, currently I'm sitting as a senator in the current SGA. And I've noticed that there are some things that students don't know. They don't know that there even is SGA. Somebody thought that SGA was the Straight Gay Alliance once. And I think one of my primary goals as a senator is to pretty much increase awareness of SGA and how important SGA is, increase the participation with students and let them know that their voices are important, and increasing the, I guess, the positivity with the image of SGA, and letting students know that they have a voice, and I guess trying to increase the participation with student groups and with the student relationship between the administration and SGA, like kind of just build a more working relationship with those different moving parts within UB. Because there is, a community. It's just a matter of just bringing it into a more unified fashion. And I think, I guess, seeing how SGA works now, I think that with my experience, I'll be able to move that forward. And again, I guess bouncing off of Randy's point, like making it more progressive, making it more unified, and bringing more community to UB. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to email me or, just ask at the end of the form. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashlyn. We have one more senator. Is John Lucas here? Don't seem to see him. Okay, well, we'll get started with the moderator's question. The moderator, John, will ask each candidate 2 questions, which they will have a minute to answer. Each candidate must raise their hand so we can call on you in a dignified order. So, John, can you start with your first question?
How do I see who raises their hand up first?
I can check it on the side.
Okay, because nobody's raising
If
their
you
hand.
put on participants, you get the page
Yeah.
right.
So if you want to go ahead and ask the question.
So no one wants to go first? So I don't have to raise their hands first before I ask them? Or
No.
I just go at random?
Just ask the question.
Okay. The
It'll
first
be
question.
the same question for everyone.
Or it has to be the same, one question, and then we go again for the second question? All right, cool. So the first question is, what are some ideas you have for new structures and initiatives to help SGA support the efforts of different campus organizations?
Hold on one moment before the candidates answer that question. We seem to have the senator we have the secretary candidate have popped in. Marnarni, would you like to state your platform?
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, so I'm coming in late. I had to work early this morning, and I just got in from work. So I apologize for coming in late. How's everyone doing? Good. Okay. I'm sorry. Please continue. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Would you like to state your platform?
Well, basically, this is my first. So I'm just completing my first semester at UB. And I was invited to join the SGA by Senator Woods, Ashlyn. And I really enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I got to work with quite a lot of interesting people, interesting folks, network. And it's a really good learning experience. I like being able to serve people and help those who feel as if they're not being heard, or feel as if their perspective of things don't really matter. And I like being able to represent people who feel that way. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm still running for the fall 2020 semester for the secretary. So
Thank you, Minority, for that. So, John, can you repeat your question for us one more time?
Okay, hold on. So the question was, what are some ideas you have for new structures and initiatives to help SGA support the efforts of different campus organizations?
The first hand I see is Miss Mary Cruz.
Okay, thank you. So as chief of staff, I just want to have clear for the team, the whole SGA body, to realize that the first thing that we have to do is change the view that the students have about SGA. I think first we have to change and say that if this is not a closed group, SGA exists because the students are there, because all the students are there. So I think that's the key. First, we have to change the view. First, we have to make sure that they understand that SGA is open for everybody, that everybody is welcome, that if the time is not working for the meetings, then we have to adjust the time. Can we give them any other options? I mean, we have to find the best way, have to connect with students.
Thank you very much. Ashlyn?
One idea that I had after experiencing this semester and the previous semester with SGA, I've noticed that like a lot of people don't know when SGA meetings are being held. They don't know much about SGA. So I guess one of the first ideas would be pretty much what Mary Cruz is saying. Get the message about SGA out there, but also just personally inviting the organizations to SGA meetings would be one of my primary focuses, is pretty much reaching out to each and every group and making sure that somebody from that group is present at SGA events. Have a representative come and be present and understand what the process of SGA is, and kind of build that relationship from, just basically being more inviting, being more welcoming, and inviting students to meetings, inviting students to committee meetings, inviting students that are interested not just in SGA, but interested in specific things like finance or I guess community relations, inviting them to meetings, inviting them to see different administrators and things like that. That's what really will build, that's what's really going to build the relationship between SGA and campus groups.
Thank you for that, Ashlyn. Hugh?
Hi. I definitely agree with the other two candidates. That's definitely something SGA has to work on for these years. But my answer is going to be a little bit more technical. What we need to do is we need to make co-sponsorships way easier. Currently, I'm advocating something called proactive co-sponsorships, and I guess in contrast to reactive co-sponsorships. Where the problem is, previous SGA years have used co-sponsorships as a tool for student bodies to fund their trips. However, the standard for that was unless the trip could not happen without SGA money, SGA wouldn't give them any funds. And that's an incredibly high standard to meet. We'll have all these requirements. We'll try to negotiate the price down. We'll do anything possible to give student organizations the least amount of money possible for their trip to function. And that's a good standard for saving money if SGA doesn't have a lot of money to give. However, we didn't spend even 10% of our co-sponsorship last year. No student organizations would go to SGA to co-sponsor with us because we simply were way too restricted with our money. A policy change I would advocate as treasurer is to do something called proactive co-sponsorships, where we don't throw away money or we don't carelessly give away money, but we use co-sponsorships to strategically improve student trips. So that could be anything as simple as just paying for lunch for students who may be going on a trip to some other city, or just paying for a better modes of transportation. Basically a standard that's not the bare minimum of whether that trip will happen or not, but opportunities to improve student experiences. So that's my suggestion for helping student orgs directly.
Thank you for that, Hugh. Amadou?
I was gonna say something about it, but it seems like Hugh covered it all. So props to him.
Well, thank you for that. Do we have any other candidates that would like to answer this question before we move on to the next one? All righty. Moderator John, will you state the next question for us, please?
The next question is, what makes you different from other candidates running, and why do the students deserve your vote?
Abraham.
Hello. Something that sets me apart is that since 2018, in my first semester here at UB in the fall, I started working at the library, and I'm still working at the library. I'm still working at the library now. I got promoted to student staff manager, and I train new and upcoming workers. So the thing that sets me apart from a lot of other candidates is that I have been serving UB students since I got here. Since I started working at the library, I serve your concerns. I get you your books. You know, I do small talk with a lot of people, so I have my ear on the ground, and I hear when students have concerns and they don't understand things. And essentially, as SGA president, I plan to offer myself as service again. I'm only here as a facilitator. I won't be here as a politician. I've never been that. I just want to help out students, help out their concerns and whatever they need, just like I've been doing in my library. So.
Thank you for that, Abraham. Next, we will have Mary Cruz.
Okay, so I think that students need someone who has the experience advocating. And in my community, since 2016, since I got to Baltimore, I've been advocating. I mean, I volunteer with different organizations, and I'm currently volunteer for, during this hard time. So people really need, students really need someone who does understand that life has those kind of hard times, as well as, those times that you can still enjoy and come together and, advocate. That's what I feel. So I feel like if the students are feeling that SGA is not supporting them, I just feel like this is the time that I'm gonna have to show them, as well as the whole team, that that's not true, that SGA is here for them, as I stated before. So I just feel like the passion that I have, the commitment, despite all the things that I have on my plate, I just feel like that's what they need. And I want to let them know that I'm here for them.
Thank you for that, Mary Cruz. Next, we will have April.
Hi, everyone. So one thing that I think sets me apart from Miarni, I love him. He's a great secretary. I am a really ambitious person. I like to lead with my hands, like in the dirt, I guess you could say. I work a full-time job. I still get all my schoolwork done. I've been in SGA this last semester, and it's been really great. I want to do more with that and, just try to make everything better, along with the co-sponsorships and everything that Hugh and Amadou were talking about. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you for that, April. Next, we will have Daniel.
Hi, everyone. So one thing that sets me apart from my competitors is that I am actually a very, very, very experienced student affairs professional and a community development professional. I have worked in student affairs here at the University of Baltimore, and I have been heavily involved with student affairs back at my old school at State University of New York at Plattsburgh, where I served in numerous roles as a student staff, but also as a student leader. I served as the Vice President for Student Affairs and Diversity for the Student Association at SUNY Plattsburgh, where I successfully advocated for the creation of numerous new programs for students and the addition of the downtown shuttle. So before I was in that role, we only used to have shuttle that would take students to very selective places, but not to downtown Plattsburgh. So I worked with our school to advance our services and to create a new shuttle service. And if you Google my name and see something that comes up, you will see that I've been also successful at advocating for the painting of a rainbow crosswalk at my old school, where that was like a big thing there, because we used to go to a very conservative school where students who were of more diverse backgrounds didn't necessarily have the support needed or the visible support needed to kind of set up and say, this is who we are. And us, the LGBTQ plus community on that campus, were somebody who was very heavily affected by that. So to kind of target that, we convinced the school and the city of Plattsburgh to push for the creation of the Rainbow Crosswalk, because it kind of provided a visible, symbolic visibility of support for those students. And I think that here at University of Baltimore, we need somebody who has had those kind of experiences to kind of push our SGA to a new level. And that's what I want to do. And that's what I think really makes me stand out. My experience as a student leader and as a professional.
Thank you for that, Daniel. Next, we will have Hugh.
Hi. So no one's running against me, but I'll just sort of say how I think I would be different if somebody were. Basically, how I think I'm different is lots of my early UB career was in student organizations. I don't know all of your history, but I know that for me, I don't frequently see lots of people joining SGA who were presidents and vice presidents and treasurers of student organizations extensively. And personally, I think it's very important, because unless you're a treasurer or you're a president of these student organizations, it's really hard for someone to comprehend their struggles, the process they have to go through, and just what needs to change. So I think what sets me different from any non-existent treasurer opponent would be the fact that I do have experience being a president of Philosophy Club 2 years ago. I do have an experience being a treasurer of these clubs. I do have an experience being in the leadership decisions of these clubs, seeing what struggles they have. And that's what informed me to be treasurer, because I want to be able to work with future student organization leaders to make the process smoother. So.
Thank you for that, Hugh. Next, we will have Amadou.
Oh, thank you, Brittany. So one thing that makes me different from my opponent is that I don't like to brag, or nor do I like to run off of like my past experience and talk about resume and all that stuff. What I like to do is get the job done and tell students, hey, I'm here to be your leader. And if you have any concern, bring it up to me and I will push it forward. And my slogan is, together we can. If you have any ideas, just bring it to me and I'll push it forward. And many people know me that knows that I push anything forward and I'm there to help and be the voice for everyone. And that's it.
Thank you for that, Amadou. Next, we will have Mayarni.
Hi. So I guess one thing that sets me apart is the fact that I've been a struggling working student for the past about 5 years or so. So I know I can relate to students that work and try to provide for themselves, a family, and try to go to school and so forth, which takes up probably the majority of UB student body. And also, I'm very willing to listen to people, even if even if we don't get along, or even if I may disagree with what they might be saying initially. Part of being the secretary, which is basically like a liaison position in the executive branch, is you have to be able to work and listen to people who you may not get along with or you may get along with. You have to be basically that middleman. And being a middleman, a lot of times that can be challenging because there can be drama in the air and so forth, but you have to put all the drama aside. You have to remember what your job is, what your position is, what you need to do. And you have to find a way to bring people together to get the job done and communicate well between one person and another. So I have a pretty, I'm a very open-minded person. And I do listen to people and I respect people also. And I have a pretty diverse background. I like, like I said, I've had my struggles, and I know a lot of UB students have their struggles too. So I like to be there to be able to support them.
Thank you, Mainari. So now we're gonna take some questions from the audience. The first question that I seen from a student was, what is one platform that you are interested in changing that is already in place? So if you guys wanna raise your hands to answer this question, candidates. Ashlyn?
I guess I'm just I think I need a little bit more background on the question. Like, as far as platforms for what, like, for what SGA already has, or like the university as a whole. Like, I guess that's would give me give somebody
I
a better way
believe
to answer.
the student was referring to one of the SGA platforms.
Oh, okay. So right now the SGA platforms, I guess, would I guess they change every semester, so the next SGA will be able to create their own platforms. But you generally have the 3 different committees, which is the finance committee, campus life, and academics. I think if for next semester, one of the things that I would change is kind of like adding another committee that would be unique to that SGA to get things done. Something that students come together and input with, something that will kind of build that bridge between SGA and administration and students and all of the things. So that's something I would change.
Thank you, Ashlyn. Hugh?
Hi, and as Ashton said, the platform changes year to year, but you tend to see some similar themes, such as community involvement. I've seen the Career Center for the last couple of years, et cetera, et cetera. But other than the proactive co-sponsorships, which I advocate to be a policy change, I think another thing we really need to do is reach out to the law schools way more than we have in the past. As you guys know, this year the law school opted to separate their funding for student orgs from the rest of the school. That's fine. If they want to make that decision, that's okay. But that doesn't mean we get to abdict our responsibility to support law students and law organizations, because they're still students covered by SGA. So one of the things I think we need to do is we need to reach out way more, not just to grad and undergrad orgs, but law orgs. We need to be funding their events too. We need to be making sure that we go to their meetings and that we're using our money not just for undergrad events and projects, but for their projects. So that's one of the things I'm really going to try to be working on this year or next year.
Thank you for that, Hugh. Dan, did you still want to go? No? Okay. So the next question that I have is from a student by the name of Ted. He said, hello, can some of you talk about how your time here in UB has shaped your idea of what we as a school can be? And for those who've just finished their first semester, how can they expect to meet those goals set out? Does any of our candidates want to answer this question? Ashlyn, go ahead.
I guess I'll kind of jump start it. So one of the things that actually got me interested, actually, I wouldn't even say interested in SGA. One of the things that actually led me to becoming a senator at SGA is that I had saw so many things that was kind of annoying to me on campus. And like, I'm open to saying like annoying because it's like, even though it was annoying me, I was trying to figure out ways to fix it or change it. For example, like on the second floor of the student center, like I was wondering like, what is this empty space here? For example, right? I'm like, I walk past this space every day. I sit here every day. I see people congregating here, and it's like, it's just so much potential, greatness right here. So I ended up like emailing SGA. I emailed Bill. I emailed so many different departments, and the only person that got back to me was Bill, who is one of the advisors for SGA, and like he pretty much told me like, hey, like you need to get involved. Like what you are doing, like what you feel like your passion is of, like what you see, going on at UB, like you can use that to actually fix it. Like you have a voice. And like I think that like with my experience here, I've seen, the good and the bad, and it's nothing that I think, that we can't fix. So that's pretty much, why I'm here, and I am kind of like dedicated and excited to actually like see those things that are annoying and try to figure out ways to fix it. So that's my thing.
Thank you for that, Ashlyn. I'm going to repeat the question for the guests. I see that people have been asking for it. So the question that Ted asked was that, hello, can some of you talk about how your time here and UB has shaped your idea of what we as a school can be? And for those who've just finished their first semester, how can they expect to meet those goals set out? I know Abraham raised his hand. So Abraham, do you want to go ahead? And let's also remember to stick with our 1 minute per answer. Abraham?
Yes, I still want to answer. So my first semester here at UB, I will admit, I was kind of scared. I didn't know what really to expect. I just knew that this was a commuter school. I had seen pictures, I had heard people, you know, regular things. But when I started working at the library, same as Ashlyn, I saw some problems with how students interact with some things, how students interact with our systems, like our library page, how they got to know about our services. And throughout my year and a half of working for the library, I have been able to help out the leadership team, the library. From the student perspective, it's like, how can we make this easier for our students? Because they're not using our facilities because they just don't really understand how to access them or how to read about this. So I have facilitated for them how to, from the students' perspective, how can we use this? How can we do this? And I have, you know, made revisions to some of their documents. And being with the club, I have also managed to facilitate events and help out students to come and learn more, not just about a simple history topic. You know, we try to get a huge topic. We try to involve a lot of students, which is what I feel has been the problem here at UB. We don't actively try to bring our students together, and that's something that I love to do.
Thank you for that, Abraham. Next, we will have Dan.
Sorry about that. I completely, sorry, technological difficulty. I forgot to click unmute before that. But I was going to say that I completely agree with Abe. We have definitely certain issues on our campus in regards that there's very low student involvement. And as SGA president, I feel like what we really need to focus on doing is addressing that issue. At the end of the day, we need to create structures that will make it easier for students to become involved, to become engaged, and to also participate on campus. Like by having had the opportunity to work at CSI in the last year, I was able to see how there are certain things and processes that discourage students from doing these things, from trying to be more engaged, from trying to be more active on campus. So I feel like using the SGA president voice to advocate for changing those processes would be a very good thing to do, because that will ultimately create the overall process for becoming involved much more easier for students and more engaging.
Thank you for that, Daniel. So the next question we have is from a student again. They state, what about getting back to the basics? Everyone is talking about how UB doesn't have a sense of community. How do you expect to change that? Randy?
I say to change that as anyone who wins has to go out into the university community to let them know who they are, what they stand for, how they want to help the student body, how they want to represent the student body more. So that's what I see it as getting back to the basics. You have to put yourself out there to show who you are and what you stand for.
Thank you for that, Randy. Dan?
I fully agree with Randy. I feel like right now something that a lot of students have problems with is that only selected few officers who are part of SGA are really out there on campus. They're engaging with students and they're doing all the work, but not everybody is. And I feel like in the next year, if I was going to be the president, I would try to make sure that not only myself, but also everybody else is out there engaging with students and trying to get them involved. Because it's one thing to run for a position, to get elected and to have it, but it's a different thing to run for a position, get elected, and then be out there with the students and trying to kind of bring life back to campus, to kind of try to cultivate that engagement and cultivate that connection among students where everybody's actually trying to do something new and people are not being shut down by the center, by the school, by each other, or by anybody.
Thank you for that, Dan. Next, we will have Hugh. Hugh, you will need to unmute yourself, please.
My bad. So I definitely agree there is a problem with insular community at SGA, but I'm going to differentiate myself from the other answers here. I think the biggest problem SGA has when people think that they're not reaching out to students is that we don't really work on things which impact all the students. I mean, we do a lot of events, we do a lot of small drives, such as giving to the campus pantry. We do a lot of interesting stuff. But I'll say that a good 80% of that stuff doesn't impact every single student. It may impact them in theory. We could say we care about their input and stuff, but that's abstract. So I think if we want students involved, we have to be doing stuff which impacts them. We've got to be looking at ways to find affordable textbooks. We need to be finding ways to increase services, not just for a few people, but for literally all the students. And we need to be doing real direct advocacy. Not just in theory, not just vague notions of input, but things which actually improve student experience. Because if people have a stake in the work we do, they're going to get involved. If people see us as just doing random stuff and just looking for the ways to have students show up to events, they're not going to care. Students don't care if 50 people or 100 people go to an event. They care that we work on things which actually impact them. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question that I have, give me 1 second. The next question that was asked was for the president candidates. This student asked, what are your plans from day one for building an effective working relationship with the Senate? Sorry about that. What are your plans from day one for building an effective working relationship with the Senate? Abraham?
Yes. So one thing that I have learned here at UB, I have always learned, at least in my leadership style, is that I like to sit down with everybody, at least individually, figure out what are their strengths and weaknesses, figure out what they like to do, what they don't like to do. And I like to play with my team on their strengths. I will not put somebody that doesn't like to do a job on that job. I want people to actually be invigorated by what they do. If you do a bad job, that reflects on all of us badly. I want an efficient person doing an efficient job on the task that I give them. But I like to talk to everybody separately, figure that out first. And secondly, sorry.
Thank you for that, Abraham. Dan?
Could you repeat the question if you don't mind?
Sure, no problem. So a student asks, what are your plans from day one for building an effective working relationship with the Senate?
In addition to trying to maximize and to provide students with the work that they want to do, I believe it's also important to make sure that we are building a team and we are building a group of students who are excited to come together and understand that we are working together to come together and realize a vision that is going to better our campus life and our student life on our campus. Something that I feel like lacked in the past year was that kind of connection among students in SGA, that kind of sense of team feeling and that connection. So in the coming year, something that I've had experienced working on a lot was developing different sort of team building activities and programs in my previous experiences. So I want to bring that into the current SGA and to ensure that our SGA is not only coming together to work on issues and then not sure how to tackle them because of internalized drama, but also they're an internalized unit who are ready to work together collectively towards a mutual goal, which is to improve campus life for all students.
Thank you for that, Dan. Can everyone still hear me? Cool. Okay, so the next question that we have from a student is, a lot of changes are being made at UB and it will affect the students. How do you plan to make sure that the students' feelings are being heard about the changes? This is for all candidates. We'll start with Dan.
Something that I would like to do is create a newsletter, as soon as possible when I join SGA, and start rolling it out on a weekly basis so students know about ongoing changes and programs and everything that relates to student life that is ongoing. So that way, for example, at the beginning of every week, students will receive a message from SGA that it contains all the upcoming possible ways that students getting involved, such as through committees and things like that. All applications to apply for those positions would be linked. So that way, once a week, there is that interaction between students and SGA so they know what is going on. And just overall making sure that we are updating our social media, that we are frequently staying active and engaged on those platforms and connecting with our students and continuously making sure that we are not only hearing their voices, but also representing it at the table where we have the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Dan. Next, we will have Randy.
I was basically going to say the same thing that Dan has said. I think that, once the university itself doles out what changes they want to make, I think SGA needs to meet as a group to discuss how best to help the university implement the change, and also, talking with the students, or, seeing how they feel about it, what concerns, suggestions they have. Maybe we could take that back to the administration to see where we can meet with common ground. Like I said, and everything else, I definitely agree with Dan about the newsletters and social media updates and stuff.
Thank you for that, Randy. Next, we will have Hugh.
Yeah, I definitely think it's important to get student input. However, the way we get to student input is more important than just having student input, offhand. And there's a difference between sending emails out to people saying answer the survey, or saying just like, hey, can you give me your opinion? Because as we found in the past, SGAs, people don't simply respond to emails asking for input. People don't write a paragraph with their position and move on if people don't think that their opinion is going to be heard in the first place. So one thing that SGA did really well last year was having these town halls, having these things where we don't just ask students for input and move on because people think you're just being ignored. We actually have an active discussion on town halls where students can be a part of the discussion, not just input, but actually part of the discussion. So we need to be doing town halls. Ashlyn last year did a really good job taking student questions and reading them directly. I think that was brilliant. But we need to have students feel that they're part of the discussion. They're not just being heard and then we just ignore them. Because let's be real, it's hard to, have students write a paragraph and just advocate on their behalf. It's way easier if people are able to speak for themselves.
Thank you for that, Hugh. Abraham?
Yes, one thing that I have learned throughout my year and a half here at UB is that there is, yes, a lot of talking with students. However, I hardly see a lot of talking with professors. And something that I have seen is that, yes, students have concerns. Yes, students have, they want their voice to be heard, but we don't actually talk to faculty members, and say, hey, this is how your students feel. I think that professors, in the time that we are right now, everybody forgets that everybody's on crunch time. Everybody's doing something, and we need to understand each other. But if we don't have that, if we're truly here to represent students, I feel like we should represent them to faculty members. And I feel like that part of the process gets lost. So that's one of the things that I would like to do.
Thank you for that, Abraham. Next, we will have Ashlyn.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted to point that, so last semester, with the new change that came was the VPD coming to UB, and I had organized and created like a survey that went out to students, and we had generated student feedback from that. One challenge that I had came across was that a lot of students aren't always in one place on campus. A lot of students are remote. They have a lot of online classes. A lot of students are in different places and commute, etc. So I think just figuring out more ways how to reach students on all different platforms, whether it's on campus, off campus, whatever, that would really help. Maybe pushing for like a open, like some way where students can submit complaints or ideas directly and people can see it. That would be an idea. And also like maybe pushing for like a common hour that would encourage students to be a part of the process more directly. And last but not least, I wanted to kind of touch on Abraham's point about talking to professors. I've spoken to many professors about the processes of, I guess, SGA and being a part of the process. and they have a different process. And it's up to students to come together and push for what we want, because at the end of the day, students are pretty much whatever students want. If we want it, we have to push for it and fight for it, and faculty will come along with us. And it's just a matter of building that bridge.
Thank you for that. We have another question. A student asks, if you are not elected into the position that you are running for, would you still be active in SGA in some way? Randy?
I definitely would. I was just thinking that I was thinking that question. Now it's funny that somebody actually answered it, but I definitely, if I wasn't elected, I definitely would still serve on SGA.
Thank you for that, Dan.
I feel like everybody on this board is running because they want to serve students and they want to make a big difference and they want to contribute to positively impacting our campus. So I absolutely, in whatever capacity I feel like that could help students, I would be there if I'm not elected. I feel like that's an obvious choice. I feel like if you're not going to be there, then why would you even be here? This is not about you being the president or you being the position. It's about you wanting to help students and make a positive difference. And that's what this really should be about.
Thank you for that, Dan. Amadou?
Just building off what Dan said, I agree with that. And I will still be there if students need me. And also if members of SGA needs advice as to what to do, I would tell them. And that's it.
Thank you for that, everyone. So we have time for one more question. This question is for everyone. Are there any initiatives that you would like to implement to strengthen SGA's role as a constituent between students and administrators? Dan?
Thank you for picking on me on this first. I'm so happy. I'm happy that I was the first one to raise my hand. If you go on my website, www.danielforsgapresident.com, you will see that one of the things that I want to do is expand on the executive board and provide new membership. That's because in order to make sure that we are doing things like advocating for student affairs, advocating for academics, advocating for better public relations on behalf of SGA, we need to create positions for people to be specifically given the tasks that relate to that area of work. So to tackle that, I want to create new vice president positions and new SGA officer positions, just so students can have more direct ways to get involved on tackling certain issues. So for example, if we had vice president for student affairs, vice president for public relations, vice president for academics, we would have specialized individuals who would on an ongoing basis advocate for issues that relate to their position. And that way they would help maybe bridge the gap between different things that right now we are not necessarily outreaching to as much as we would like to.
Thank you for that, Dan. Mainari?
Hi, yes, so this kind of goes back actually to, I think it was 2 questions ago. I believe that we need to, as the SGA, is supposed to essentially not just represent the student body, but you should reflect it from, I guess, if you want to be philosophical or something about it or deep about it, from a spiritual or mental perspective. So part of making sure that issues that students are having is addressed to faculty and staff and other parts of the other governing bodies of UB is making sure that you get in the trenches with students. You know, ask students questions whenever classes that you're taking for the semester. You know, ask them how they feel about how their semester is going. You know, how they feel about the class and so forth. And what they think, you know, what they like about UB, what they don't like about UB. Just a simple conversation with students in all your classes. Socialize with students and be willing to listen to them and absorb what they're saying and be willing to represent them in the SGA. That's how, if everyone in SGA acted like that, I think that the SGA will reflect the mentality and the I guess the beliefs of the student body itself. It would be really transparent, and that will also feed into SGA creating a community, because if you have different SGA members taking different perspectives from students that they go to class with about how they feel about UB, when you put all that together in SGA and put that into the agendas for that semester, and you make progress toward those agendas, I think you make the student body a lot more satisfied with their experience at UB. So it has a lot to do with, I think, communication, talking to students, reaching out directly with them, just being sociable with students, not just, reaching out in online or through social media and stuff. You gotta talk to them in class and so forth around campus, be hands-on.
Hey, Miarni.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, please wrap it up.
I'm done.
Thank you for that, Marnarni. So Ashlyn.
One initiative that I think I would try to implement is probably having more like meet and greet sessions or opportunities to network with members of the administration, because like I feel like a lot of the people who are a part of the administration, let's say the president, provost, assistant provost, all of those different people, they want to interact with students. They love UB, they love UB students, and it's just that like with their work, I think that I feel like with their work, they haven't really found a way to meet with students in a way that would build the gap. I mean, I guess bridge the gap. And I think that it's SGA's job to pretty much create that relationship and create that bond with administration and like host events. And I wouldn't say have parties, but host meet and greets, host, I guess, forums where the members of the administration and students can actually come together and work together and meet each other and be social. That would be my initiative.
Thank you for that. I'm going to repeat the question one more time, and then we're going to have to wrap this up. So the question was, are there any initiatives that you would like to implement to strengthen SGA's role as a constituent between students and administrators? April, you're next.
Hi again, everyone. I actually had a plan for this, my last term, but it was shot down. I wanted to have a committee within SGA that would go to the faculty senate meetings and also kind of reach out to them, in between meetings with faculty and administration, because they have their own meetings. Yeah.
Thank you for that, April. And our last two people will be Abraham and Hugh. Abraham?
Yeah, something that we haven't really talked about, and it's the second simple goal on my platform. It's the advocating for the counseling center to be brought back. In the last year, when we were talking about the police academy coming, President Schmoke was asked if he would be willing to bring back the counseling center, and he said that if students would back it up and if we advocated for it, that it could be possible and that we could bring it back. And that's something that will solidify our relationship with students and the institution. That is something that if they realize that we're actually serious about this, and if we really have a concern about our mental health and that we actually want this, then they will know that we actually want to do things. We actually want this facility for us. So I think that would be a good implementation for the institution to see that we're serious.
Thank you for that, Abraham. And the last person we will have today will be Hugh.
Thank you. To put a really complicated phenomenon simply, we need to make sure that the students' interests are being represented, which basically means we gotta not be afraid of making administrators mad. One of the things I like about Abraham is he's really good about making sure that administrators are held accountable, and that's what we need to do. We need to stop being scared to make people mad. And I mean administrators mad, not be scared to get into conflicts, not just to cause drama, but because that's the only way we can really fight for interests that really matter to the students. We can host meet and greets. We can try to have cordial relations with administrators, and that's good. We need to have important working relationships, but we can't be scared for a little bit of tension between the students and administrators, because the most pressing problems students have need to be addressed through, advocacy and action, not just, holding hands and kumbaya, to put it dramatically. And so we need a president which can hold the administration accountable. We need an SGA willing to go and fight for student issues. And I hope that, no matter how these elections turn out, we're all ready to do more than just, be friends with everyone. We're willing to actually fight for student issues.
Thank you for that, Hugh. Well, I just want to thank everyone for coming out to our first virtual forum, SGA Candidate Forum. This has been lovely meeting everyone. I would suggest all of our guests continue to ask the questions, send your emails to the candidates, check out their websites and their social media as they've been posting. Make sure to check out the CSI social medias at UBalt Involved, where we will continue to post out information as we receive it. On behalf of the election commissions, we want to say thank you and have a wonderful evening. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Take care.